You don't want to be every time, no. I would like to personally welcome you to Man Hour After Dark. Say that while I bring you the host, Mike, Buck, get calm. You know who coming to the sports talking what you about to hear right here. I second that.
Go. You know that it's us when we talking about sports. Giving you facts on the field to the core. Tune in, we need the support. 1 hour too short, still listen some more. On all your stations, not dropping no music. Stripes like Adidas, but Nike just do it. Down 4 in the 4th, we go for the win. Michael 2 seconds, we taking it in. Buck, Mike, get calm. You know what's going on. Man, now we're After Dark, no LA. We the big spark. No 4th and inches, won't cut you short. Got the best talking, it's all sports. Buzzing more than buzzer beaters. We coming live, all 3 speaks go.
And what is up, everybody? Michael Buckhouse here with the Man Hour. Head over to mikeandmikemanhour.com. Pick yourself up some merchandise. And if you are going to miss any part of the show whatsoever, you can watch us on youtube.com/Man Hour, or you can download this on iTunes and Spotify as well. But let me welcome my host tonight, Brandon Combs. What is going on tonight, man?
Not much, man. Not much. I am excited to be back. Big X Radio. Let's go.
Man, we are on 96.1 Big X Sports Radio tonight and 1450 AM, 9 a.m. East Coast time every Saturday morning. And we're also live on YouTube.com Monday through Thursday, 9 p.m. East Coast time. But starting January 4th, Brandon, we're going to 8 p.m. East Coast time starting January 4th. So really, really excited about that. But let's get into today's show. And NBA preseason is officially started. Brandon, I feel like NBA season just got over, and we're already starting off preseason again. I read on the old Twitter machine that this was the shortest offseason ever in all 4 major sports. Are you excited about NBA at all right now?
I'll be completely honest with you, man. I'm never really excited about the NBA. I can't even lie to you. You know, people talk to me all the time because I'm a baseball guy. They always say, "Oh, the baseball season's so boring." Blah 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 blah. To me, man, basketball is just it's college basketball is a lot of fun to watch.
Right.
NBA, I just feel like the product has just been watered down over the last 15 years. So personal preference, I'll watch the NBA a lot during playoff time, but during the preseason definitely won't watch. Regular season will be, hit or miss.
Yeah, and I'm going to be flat out honest. I don't like any preseason sports, to be honest. Like, I don't mean, I'm not a huge fan of spring training baseball, but it's a little bit more tolerable because there's actually players playing or like competing to get on a major league roster, right?
Right. And that's why people who really love the sport, so people who love the NBA will watch because they get to see the kids that aren't going to be necessarily starting on the team as well. And that's why I get excited for spring training baseball, because I get to see the prospects and how they perform and stuff like that. That's what got me excited for guys like Chris Bryant and Javier Baez. But basketball for me, that's what preseason is. It's you have to really love the sport to be into the preseason.
Right. And in like a normal year, like Christmas Day, I will tune into Christmas Day NBA basketball, and then I will shut it off again until about April because, once January 1st starts, meaning we are in the heart of the NFL playoffs. And yes, the college basketball season is starting to ramp up a little bit, but that doesn't really start ramping up till about mid-January when conference play normally starts. And so then I'll switch over to college basketball because I'm excited about conference play. I'm excited about my Kentucky Cats, playing other competitive teams, even though right now they're 1-4, something ridiculous. But nonetheless, NBA, it just. The season goes from November till June or July, and so it is almost as long as baseball season is, just a lot watered down. It's just I don't like it.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan. I do watch Christmas games. I'll watch here and there. I'll watch if there's a big matchup, or here in Chicago, when the Bulls are good. they're all right to watch, but that might be another reason why I just haven't been into it the last 10 years or so, is because the Bulls have just been such a badly run organization, minus the couple of years that we had Derrick Rose.
So you're top of those fans,
huh? The last time I was really into it was when Derrick Rose took the Bulls to the playoffs, and they played that series against the Boston Celtics. Ended up going 7 games, and like 5 of those games went to overtime or double overtime.
Yeah.
It was just a classic series. I think that was the last time I was really excited about basketball.
Yeah, you can really test your fandom of like any sport of like when your team is not doing well if you are still tuning into those games, right? But
yeah.
Speaking of tuning into games, last weekend Virginia Tech played Clemson. I believe it was about the second quarter. The sprinklers came on. Middle of a snap, the sprinklers at the 50-yard line just start spewing water everywhere. I mean, first things first, it's Saturday night, so you know you're going to have a football game on like at some point, right? I mean,
right.
Who do you blame when that stuff happens? Like, I mean, like sprinklers coming on in the middle of like a game. Like, come on, like who do you blame?
So I didn't see this. What was the score when the sprinklers came on?
I had it on the second TV, and I kind of like looked over and like, why is the game paused? And there's a sprinklers just spraying water out for damn near 30 minutes or so. Because like I was watching the UFC fights on the main TV, and then on the second TV, I had that game on. So I don't even know what the score was, but it was fairly early in the game. I mean, obviously Clemson rolled them, so it doesn't matter one way or the other.
Maybe they just needed a break, and the coach called in a favor. You ever watch that Buffalo Wild Wings commercial?
Right.
Where the guys are like, man, I wish it was just go a little bit longer. So maybe they called in a favor from Buffalo Wild Wings and got it done. We just gave Buffalo Wild Wings a cheap plug, so hey, maybe they'll come sponsor us now.
But every time something like that happens, like I always flash back to TV shows, right? The one movie that comes to mind is Major League. I believe it's Back to the Minors. What's that? Major League 3. When right when the Buzz was getting ready to beat the Minnesota Twins, and the Twins manager's like, cut the lights now, right? Every time something like that happens, I picture that. I'm like, is somebody really calling these shots? Like, do these guys need a break? Like, hey, turn on the sprinkler. Let's just see what happens.
So I'm looking at it right now. It looked like in the second quarter it was a fairly close game. It was 10-7 after one, and it was 17-10 at the half. So maybe that's what it was. Maybe Virginia Tech was like, "Hey, look, man, we're getting really close here. Maybe we just need to throw them off their game a little bit." It didn't work though because they shut them out in the second half.
Well, but
nothing. So
one of the biggest things that I always question is why does it always take these people so long to shut off the sprinklers or to find out that you blew a fuse on the lights or what or think about this. It was a Super Bowl. They were at the Saints. I forget who the game was, but was it the Pittsburgh Steelers? No, I can't.
It was somebody against the Patriots, wasn't it? Because they were talking about. No. That was the game where I know which one you're talking. I can't remember who was playing in the damn game now, but they were talking about they shut out. It was the lights, right?
Yeah.
And the team was getting blown out.
I believe it was the Ravens.
Yeah, they didn't want it to be a blowout, and so they blew the lights.
Right.
And then after that, there was a comeback.
Was
that was the Ravens and Niners? Actually, I think.
Yeah.
I think that was the Harbaugh Bowl.
Yeah. I think you're right. So, but those lights seemed to be out for 45 minutes. It was crazy to happen just like that. But
in the Super Bowl, man, forget it. Oh, man.
I mean, at that point in time, you have to have a generator backup. Hey, just in case something happens, let me spend $1 million on these generators so I can at least.
The NFL doesn't even want to push back the Super Bowl because of COVID. You think they wanted to do something with sprinklers? They didn't want nothing to go on. They don't want nothing to go wrong to mess with their precious Super Bowl. And whereas I didn't have a dog in the race, I was laughing. I thought it was great. It gave me more time to drink beer.
Yeah, I mean, it was by far one of the best Super Bowls that I could recently remember, besides the Manning, because my wife is a Denver Broncos fan. When that snap over went over Peyton Manning's head, and the Seahawks absolutely destroyed them. Like that Super Bowl, that made me smile inside a lot, but not on the outside, just on the inside, so the old lady wouldn't get too upset. But speaking of getting upset, we saw the Jets almost beat the Las Vegas Raiders last week. Last play of the game, they send a jailhouse blitz, press man on the outside, and they give up like it was like a 60-yard pass to like end the game. So obviously, tank mode is in full effect for New York Giants fans. Like, let's be flat out honest. Call it what you want. They are tanking to get the first overall pick. I want to ask you this question. Are you okay with tanking in sports?
So, I am on record. I don't believe the tanking is real. I don't believe that you have a group of grown professional athletes and a group of head coaches and a general manager whose jobs are all at stake ever want to go 0-16, ever want to lose games on purpose just for a better draft pick. There's no way that Adam Gase keeps his job after this season. And if he does keep his job after this season, then something's afoot, because that has to be the worst coach in all the NFL, and that's coming from a Bears fan who has to watch Matt Nagy every weekend, okay? So there is no such thing as tanking in sports.
Are you serious right now?
Especially in football. Basketball, I could believe it. I think basketball is probably the most fixed sport that we have. But especially in football, man, they only get 16 games a year. You're telling me that one game isn't going to take them out of the number one spot. They win one game, they still have the tiebreaker over Jacksonville. They're still going to be in the number one spot. That was just a bad play call. I mean, it was he's done that before. So Greg Williams has done that before, where they're on, they're fourth down, and he's called all-out blitzes when he was coaching for the Cleveland Browns, and it worked for him. They got to the quarterback. This one, when you're in this situation, I don't think you can do this. I think you have to go to prevent defense. It's just a bad play call, and it cost him his job. He got fired the next day.
Well, the only reason why it is a bad play call is because the game should never have been as close as it was. Like, let's be flat out honest. The Jets are just not good at tanking. I mean, they are getting word from up top, down to the head coach, down to the players. Guys, your job is to lose for the rest of the season. When they were too close, I guarantee you that owner was in Adam Gase's ear like, hey, if you guys win, you are getting fired. So Adam Gase is like, hey, Greg, come on, man, save me my job. I'll get you a coordinator job somewhere, somehow, some way.
Come on. First of all, Adam Gase is never getting a job, let alone getting somebody else a job.
Well, I don't think Adam Gase is going to get fired. Like, if he was going to get fired, he would have got fired by like week 7 or week 8, so they could at least build for the future a little bit. But if you do not believe,
you're not going to give another head coach an interim position with this Jets team. There's no way. You're not going to bring somebody in because nobody's going to want to stay. So yeah, you absolutely keep Adam Gase on the job. There's no way Adam Gase is the head coach of the Jets next year. You're out of your mind.
We could have a friendly bet in the end and like see what happens. So maybe on Monday or like Tuesday on the YouTube channel, we will we'll have a little friendly bet. But if you do not believe that tanking is not real in sports, I don't think you are a true fan. Come on, man. A first overall pick versus a third overall pick, that's the difference between.
I don't think the Jets are going to take the first overall pick anyway. I don't believe that they take a quarterback. I believe they trade the first overall pick and get a bunch of picks in return. But so I don't think that it's not necessarily the first overall pick that they're worried about. There is no. You're an athlete, Buck. I mean, you should know this just as well as I do. Look, right. I don't care how many teams I played on, how many bad teams I played on. We want to win. We don't want to lose. So you could tell me to tank. I'm going to tell you to go screw yourself, and I'm going to go play my ass off, and I'm going to try to win.
Well, you can play your ass off, but when a coach calls a play and you don't do that play, you're getting pulled. You know that, and I know that 100%. And a coach is definitely wanting you to tank, and that is what is going to happen. But nonetheless, guys, let's go ahead and take a quick little break. On the other side of the break, we got the world's famous buy or sell. Man Hour, brought to you by Thrive Fantasy. Promo code MANHOUR. Go ahead to thrivefantasy.com and use the promo code MANHOUR. Match up to $50 on your first deposit. We'll be right back here on the Man Hour. And welcome back to the Man Hour, guys. Michael Buckeyes with Brandon Combs. Like I said, guys, Man Hour is brought to you by Thrive Fantasy. Head over to thrivefantasy.com. Use the promo code MANHOUR for a $50 deposit. You get up to $50 free on that as well. So, Brandon, are you ready to do buy or sell, man?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Go ahead and take the reins, man.
All right, so guys, buy or sell is one of these games. You guys haven't heard it before. It is where we just come up with some things that are going on in sports, and we are going to buy or sell what we come up with. So the first one here, Buck, buy or sell the Iowa Hawkeyes as a top 3 team in men's college basketball.
You know, I am buying the Iowa Hawkeyes right now. They are 3-0 on the season. Granted, the season is still young, but there are only, about 7-8 teams that are undefeated right now, and arguably they are a top 5, if not even top 3 team. Looking at the rest of the rankings, like looking at some of the big names, we'll get this later into the show, but your big names: Duke, Kentucky, Kansas, North Carolina, Louisville, they are all losing right now. Yes, guys, I know Louisville's undefeated, but who have they played? Absolutely nobody. They didn't even deserve to be in the top 25 right now. But definitely, I'm buying the Iowa Hawkeyes because I think the men's college basketball ranking is the most obsolete thing ever. The only thing this matters is for TV purposes anyways. So, yes, put them at number 3. I'm buying them 100%.
I'm buying them too. However, I mean, they did lose. They announced it today that they lost their leading scorer to a non-COVID-19 related illness. So that's going to bump them down just a little bit here. But their schedule's not exceedingly tough. I believe that they're playing something like Colorado State or something crazy this Sunday. So hopefully they can get back. But They are a very very good team. I really like what they're doing there, and so yeah, I'm certainly buying them as a top 3 team. I think that they're going to withstand this all the way through to the tournament, and I really feel like Iowa is going to be a probably a 2 or 3 seed in the tournament.
And for all you haters out there, they do play the number 1 team ranked right now, the Gonzaga Bulldogs, in a couple weeks. So we will definitely really see if they're for real or not.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so our next one here, buy or sell Coastal Carolina as a college football playoff team.
You know, Brandon, I've been going back and forth on this because there are other teams that might be deserving as well that we're not talking about. I'm talking maybe about some USC, maybe Cincinnati, maybe even Washington, even though they are a 1-loss team as well. But for a 4-team playoff, the current playoff system that we have, I am selling them simply because look at the couple years ago when University of Central Florida, UCF, they went 14-0. And they dominated everybody. They beat Florida State. I trying to think of another big team that they beat. I think they beat Boston College that year too. Yeah. And they weren't even ranked in the top 25 for the longest time in that year. And then finally they broke up to number 18th or 17th the last couple weeks in the year. We've said it many, many times over and over and over that the college football playoff is a kind of the name on the front of your jersey and what conference you play in. And unfortunately, Coastal Carolina plays in a no-name conference, so I got to sell them.
Yeah, so I want to buy them. I do believe that they're not getting the respect that they should get. Being a 10-0 team, I get that the conference that they play in isn't exactly phenomenal. But you've got some 2-loss teams ahead of them that I think that they could probably beat. I think that they could beat an Oklahoma. I think they could definitely compete with the Georgia. Iowa State, I think they could beat Iowa State, and Iowa State's ranked 7th. So I'm gonna sell them in the current format, but I would buy them as a top 8 team if they did go to an 8-team playoff. I do believe Coastal Carolina is better than some of those teams that are ranked ahead of them, including some of you Hoosier fans might not like this, but I think they're better than the Indiana Hoosiers, especially right now where Indiana's missing their starting quarterback. So I just feel like Coastal Carolina is getting a raw deal by the NCAA.
And just to add to your point there, a tad bit. Usually there is a big drop off after the 14th in the college football. So the top 4 teams in the playoff format usually works. But recently, like this year and like last year, like even there have been solid 10 teams that you could throw into the playoff and they would all compete. And I would recommend them going to an 18th playoff format just for this very reason. Coastal Carolina, Cincinnati, and BYU even to slide in there.
What is it? Division 2 or Division 3? Which one is it that has the
division?
Maybe both of them do have the 12-team playoff.
Every level of football has a playoff system that is more than 4 teams, except for Division 1, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, it makes absolutely zero sense. It never made sense to me before when they were just voting on it, and then they went to the national title game, and then that didn't make sense to me because you could only vote on 2 teams, and you'd have 5 that were undefeated. And then then we go to a 14 playoff, but you've got teams like Coastal Carolina who deserve the chance to at least the opportunity to go in there and show that they can compete with the big dogs. What if you put Coastal Carolina in there and Coastal Carolina upsets an Alabama? Like, isn't that something we all want to see, other than obviously Alabama fans? But as college football fans, that's what we're there for. We're there to see the kids storm onto the field after a big win. You know what I mean? So
the college football fans do. ESPN doesn't. ABC doesn't. Because who are you going to tune into, Alabama or Coastal Carolina at the end of the day?
Do you know what a Coastal Carolina look? If you're telling me that fans won't tune in to a playoff system where Coastal Carolina pulls off an upset, you are out of your mind. What do they do in the tournament in the March Madness tournament when teams are getting upset left and right?
That is different because there are 15 other games on at the same time. In this particular format, there will only be that one game on being rivaled with college basketball. Would you turn into a Alabama versus Coastal Carolina or a Duke versus North Carolina basketball game?
Me, myself, I'm tuning into the football game.
But I would tell you the people in the Indiana, Kentucky, North Carolina area, they are turning in basketball.
I think people would tune in and watch the first half of that game to see where Coastal Carolina stands, and then if Coastal Carolina is hanging with them, I believe that they stay with it. I think that they would give them a chance. It's the college football. Look, I don't have a team in the race ever because I'm a Notre Dame fan. I don't ever have a team in the title game.
Right.
So I'm always watching the title game, and if it's at the end of the first half, if it's a blowout, I go to bed or I watch something else. And if it's a good game, I keep it tuned right in. And I think that would be the same thing if you had a Coastal Carolina in there.
I see your point.
All right, so let's get into some NFL talk, which we haven't done yet here on the Big X Network. But this is kind of our bread and butter on the lives if you've been watching us on YouTube or on Facebook. Buy or sell Cam Newton as a starter in the NFL next season?
See, this is another one that I've been going back and forth on because we saw Cam Newton tear the Chargers up was it 10 days ago, I think, when they played. And then last night, he laid an egg. He just had a game where he threw like 69 yards, something ridiculous just like that. But Cam Newton has never been that wow-you statistically type of quarterback. He has never been a quarterback to really push the ball down the field. Newton's game is the RPO and nickel dime you down the field, much like what Lamar Jackson does. Just I think Cam Newton does it a little bit better than Lamar Jackson because he does have a little bit more arm talent and a little bit more size and just a little bit more grunginess like about him. So I do think Cam Newton does have a starting job next year in the NFL. It is not with the Patriots, and it is not with a team that you would think he would land to, like the Jets or the Giants or whoever, right? It is going to be a team that is going to come up and surprise you. Jacksonville Jaguars. I think that's where Cam Newton goes this offseason. Jacksonville Jaguars. He will have a starting NFL job next season. Definitely buying that.
So you think he's going to the Jaguars?
Yeah. I actually thought he was going to go to the Jaguars this off season when they traded Nick Foles to the Bears and Cam Newton still didn't have a job. I was really surprised that he did not get picked up then.
So here's my thing with Cam Newton. Cam Newton can't get into a rhythm right now with his wide receivers. He just doesn't seem to be in sync with them.
He doesn't fit the Bill Belichick system.
Well, he also looks like his mechanics are off. He changed his mechanics since his surgery and totally blocks off his front side, which doesn't allow him to use his bottom half anymore.
Right.
And so I think that if you find somebody who thinks that they can work with him and thinks who they can change that, and I don't know why New England hasn't done it yet, because you can't really force a guy to do that. Once he's been hurt, he has to be able to do that himself. Do I think that Cam Newton is better than... That's where I have to go with it. I have to see who is he better than. Is he better than anything that they have in Jacksonville? Yes. So that's why it's interesting that you brought that up. He is a better option than anything they have in Jacksonville. But he's also better than anything they have waiting in the wings in New England as well. I think he's better than Jarrett Stidham. I don't think Jarrett Stidham is going to be what the New England Patriots thought he was going to be. So I think he could start there. I think that, the Chicago Bears, I think he could be a starter with the Chicago Bears next year, depending on what they do in the offseason. So there are places where I could see him being a starting quarterback, so I'm going to go ahead and buy him as a starting quarterback in the NFL next year.
So speaking of the Patriots, I think the Patriots do something that they really haven't done before. This offseason, they will go after a veteran quarterback that is already on a team. I'm talking Andy Dalton, Dak Prescott, Nick Foles, Mitchell Trubisky. I don't think Aaron Rodgers goes to New England because I think Aaron Rodgers wants to write his legacy somewhere else, much like what Tom Brady did with the Tampa Bay. He wants to go to a team where he can just totally 100% be the guy there and not have to live in a shadow. Right. But I think the Patriots do have to go after a veteran quarterback. I don't think Jarrett Stidham is the answer. I saw him play Thursday night. I don't think he is a NFL ready quarterback right now. He might be a good backup, much like Colt McCoy or I'm trying to think of Nick Foles. Yeah, just like a quarterback that when he is in there 2 or 3 games, Ryan Fitzpatrick comes to mind. He is great for 2 or 3 games, but a full season, you can't ask that from him whatsoever. So, I mean, yes, Cam Newton will be a starter, just not in New England.
All right, so moving on, this is one that I've been going back and forth with all season long since I made that statement back in, I believe it was June when we talked about this, that I believe that Jameis Winston is a top quarterback in the league. So buy or sell, Jameis Winston is the best quarterback on the New Orleans Saints this season.
You have to sell that. Because he hasn't started one game for the New Orleans Saints, I should say. The best quarterback right now is hurt in Drew Brees. Drew Brees is a Hall of Famer. I don't care if he's 55, he's still better than Jameis Winston with a broken hand throwing opposite-handed. We also see that Taysom Hill right now is doing better than Winston because, that's right, Winston isn't starting a game. So how can he be the best quarterback on the roster, on the team, when he hasn't even taken a first starting snap of the season? Come on, man. Sell that.
Michael Buckheiser, let me ask you a question.
Answer away,
How
my
many
good
games
friend.
has Jameis Winston started this year?
0.
Okay. So in the past 2 seasons, that's including this season, he has more passing yards and more touchdowns than Drew Brees. And he hasn't even started a game this season.
Okay. How many interceptions does he have?
There is no reason. Everybody wants to come at you with the interception when it comes to Jameis Winston. That 1 year was an anomaly. And I say this all the time. Brett Favre once had a season where he threw 29 interceptions. And he only threw 20 touchdowns that year. So that's still, you know what I mean? So if you want to put him on that same trajectory, fine. I'll go with you there. He's a gunslinger, yes. But Jameis Winston would be the most dynamic quarterback on the New Orleans Saints this year. He would score more points with this offense than he did in Tampa Bay. He's got a better run game than he had in Tampa Bay. He's got a better offensive line than he did in Tampa Bay. He's got probably better receivers, even though they had a really good wide receiving core in Tampa Bay. And he's got a better play caller in Tampa Bay. I'm telling you right now, Jameis Winston is going to be the quarterback of the New Orleans Saints next year, and they are going to set records when it comes to scoring.
All right, guys, we're going to leave that right there. If you like that type of debate, check us out every Monday through Thursday on youtube.com/Man Hour live, 9 p.m. East Coast time. Or you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, and iHeartRadio right after the show as well. We're going to take a quick little break. On the other side of the break, Brandon, we're going to talk some more college football. We got to talk some Ohio State and the best rivalries in college football. Stay tuned, guys. We'll be right back here. We'll be right back here on the Man Hour, guys. And welcome back to the Man Hour, guys. Michael Buckeyes with Brandon Combs. If you guys would, head over to MikeandMikeManHour.com. Pick yourself up some t-shirts, hoodies, and beanies as well. We also got blogs over there if you're into the blog thing, if you like to read. Some people don't like to read. I don't like to read, but we write blogs over there for you as well. But, Combs, we are in the heart of rivalry football week here. And we've had some rivalry games get canceled, much like Ohio State versus Michigan because of COVID. If you guys want to hear what we really think about that, you should have tuned in to live on youtube.com/Man Hour. But before we get too deep into college football talk, what is the best rivalry in all of college football in your eyes?
Oh, man. So for me, it really just depends on... It's kind of like we talked about last week with, is the SEC the best conference? And I said, well, every conference really takes its turn on dominating. And it's kind of the same thing with rivalries. So, Alabama-LSU comes to mind as of late, or Alabama-Clemson more recently. But Notre Dame-Boston College has always been one that's been really good. And not only that, but Florida State is very good. I'm not sure which one's the best. Of course, I'm biased because I am a Notre Dame guy, so I do lean towards Notre Dame and Boston College because no matter what, when it comes to Notre Dame and Boston College, whether or not Boston College is ranked higher or Notre Dame is ranked higher, they always find a way to upset the other one. And so for me, it's always been Notre Dame and Boston College. I always look for that game on the schedule when it is and gear up for it. But Michigan and Ohio State's another one that I always enjoy watching. And that's another one that always seems to be whoever's higher ranked ends up getting upset by the other one. So
Right. Yeah, and it's funny that you said Notre Dame and Boston College because every time I think of Notre Dame, I don't think of the Boston College game. The first game that comes to mind when I think of Notre Dame rival games is like USC. Like back in like the 90s and early 2000s, like that was the game to watch. Notre Dame versus USC. Like who was going to basically whoever came out on top had a good shot at winning a national title like that particular year. But then you got to think of some of the games that you are overlooking here. How about the Army-Navy game? Usually the Army-Navy game is the only game on that I
love that Army-Navy game.
This week, and that, I mean, like, for whatever reason me like both of those teams can be horrible, 0-12 going into that game, and then that game they both put up like 60-some points. It's absolutely crazy.
Being a Marine, I always get into that one. I'm always rooting for Navy.
Are you?
Because Navy, the Marine Corps is a department of the Navy, so the Naval Academy actually has Marines that play there. So if you look at the sleeves of the jerseys, it'll actually tell you whether or not they're a Marine or whether or not they're in the Navy, because they'll have the emblem of which branch that they are in on their jersey.
So what you're saying is Navy has been cheating the whole time in this Army versus Navy game.
Yeah, because so we say all the time the Marines are a department of the Navy. We're the men's department. So, I do watch that game every year. I do really, really enjoy that Army Navy game. I mean, it's just a classic game. But I mean, let's be real. I mean, when it comes to rivalries and when it comes to what we're doing, I mean, we want to see these teams that are competing for national titles and these rivalries that are, stopping people from competing for the national titles. And Army and Navy are probably never going to compete for a national title. So that's what I think of when I think of rivalries.
Yeah, so let me give you my top 10 rivalries of all time. Like I put this together about 30 minutes for the show. So if I missed anybody, I'm sorry, but this is like when I think of college football, these are the games that I think of. First, like coming in at number 10, I have Alabama and LSU. Just like we said, like as of late, this has been the game to watch. And then I think of Pittsburgh versus West Virginia. Many people don't know, but this is a huge rivalry. Pitt versus West Virginia, especially when they were both in the Big East a couple years ago. And then I have Mississippi State versus Ole Miss, Florida State versus Miami, Georgia versus Florida. I mean, obviously that game speaks for itself. Then I have Notre Dame, USC, Army, Navy, and then I have Alabama versus Auburn coming at number 2, Ohio State versus Michigan. And then the best rivalry of all college football, the Red River rivalry, Texas versus Oklahoma. Best one ever.
I don't think that one's the best one ever. In Notre Dame USC, I believe they stopped the rivalry a few years back. So
which they should bring that back.
They should. I mean, when you said it, I was like, yeah, that, but that's probably why I didn't put it in there. I think last year was the last year that they were going to do it. And so, man, I don't know, like Texas and Texas has been so irrelevant over the last 10 years.
Shots fired at LeBlanc, huh?
Yeah, they've just been irrelevant. They're not a good program right now. And that's where I get where, it's it's different. Like in the 90s, yes, that was a great one. Because yes, the Red River shootout was unbelievable. But so was, Colorado and Nebraska was also always great back in the 90s. But if you told me Colorado, Nebraska right now, I would laugh at you. Because I don't know. They're just irrelevant.
Yeah, they're both 2-10 right now, right? Or something.
Yeah,
ridiculous.
I mean, well, Colorado's 4-0 this year, but they've only played 4 games.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't see that one anymore especially as being the best. It's just maybe, 15, 20 years ago, but if we had a guy like Wyatt on our show right now, he would laugh at you and be like, "What are you talking about? That's never been a good rivalry," because he's never seen it be a good rivalry.
Right. So the reason why I wanted to talk about that a tad bit was because Ohio State and Michigan were supposed to play this week, but obviously that game got canceled because of COVID concerns. Also, a side note, if you guys joined us last week here on the Big X Sports Radio, we talked about that this game was going to get canceled, and would the Big Ten bend the rules to let Ohio State into the championship game? Well, they have. So some side note here, the Big Ten said you have to have at least 6 games to make it to the championship game. Ohio State's 5-0, not playing this week. Big Ten championship games next week. The Big Ten said you can come on in. So Side note, you also have to have 6 wins, not 6 games, 6 wins to make it into a bowl game. So, Combs, let's play devil's advocate here. Let's say Northwestern beats Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game, making Ohio State 5-1. Right now, they're currently ranked 3rd in top 25 college football. So obviously, the loss would probably knock them out of the college football playoff if this was a normal season. But since you have to have 6 wins to make it to a bowl game, do you think do you think the NCAA bends the rules to let Ohio State play a postseason game, even though they're only going to have 5 wins this year?
No. And it's not just because they only had 5 wins. If Ohio State finished at 5-0 and weren't allowed to be in the Big Ten title game, then yes, I do think they would have. Because Ohio State would have been undefeated. But if Ohio State loses to Northwestern, they're going to have 1 loss. It's going to be to Northwestern, and you're going to have teams that are going to jump them. You're going to have, who is there right now that's right behind them? I believe it's Texas A&M and Florida.
Which they don't have a game this week, yeah.
Yeah, one of those 2 teams will jump in. I believe, whichever one of those, they should be in the SEC title game, I would assume. And so whichever one of those 2 teams wins the SEC title game would get in. And I just, man, it's so disheartening that Ohio State did this to Indiana. Because I get that they're without their quarterback and all that. But they met their requirements. They did everything they needed to do to go out and play 7 games this season, and they went 6-1. And yes, their only loss was to Ohio State, and I get all the Ohio State Buckeye fans and supporters out there going to be like, well, then you should have beat us if you wanted to get in. Well, you should have played more games if you wanted to get in. You aren't supposed to be there either because you did not complete the requirements. Indiana did. And so now they're going to bend the rules to let Ohio State in because Ohio State has a chance to go to a college football playoff and Indiana does not. Because there's no way, even if Indiana wins a Big Ten title game over Northwestern, they're not jumping Oklahoma, they're not jumping Miami, they're not jumping Georgia, Cincinnati, Iowa State, Florida, and Texas A&M. It's not going to happen. So the Big Ten did this for money. And you
100%.
Can't tell me that the NCAA and the Big Ten were just like, oh, you know what? We just feel bad because they didn't get to play 6 games that we're just going to bend the rule. No, it's about the money. It's because you wanted to get paid, because you want them to beat Northwestern, and because you want them to be in a college football playoff, and you want to make that playoff dollar. Well, you know what? I hope Northwestern waxes that ass in the Big Ten title game, and I hope Ohio State does not even get into the college football playoff so I can sit here on Big X Radio, on YouTube, on Facebook Lives, and I could ream you again, and I can sit there and I can laugh while I do it because you tried to bend the rules and it backfired in your face, and now Ohio State looks stupid because they went to the Big Ten title game and lost to Northwestern.
So let me be devil's advocate here for a little bit. I let you go, but let me reel you back in a little bit. You made it seem like Ohio State canceled against Maryland, canceled against Illinois, canceled against Michigan. They did not cancel. The other schools did. So I see why the Big Ten bent the rules a little bit here. I'm playing on both sides of the fence right now, yes. Because, like, let's be honest, I am with you 100%. The Big Ten shouldn't have bent the rules for one team and not the other. But the simple fact of the matter is that that the Buckeyes were prepared to play Maryland. They were prepared to play Illinois. They also were prepared to play Michigan as well. So it is not their fault that they only have 5 games this year. It is the Big Ten's fault for not giving them that extra leeway to go find a game or a buffer in a week to move that games around. What's up?
Let me ask you a question. If this was Maryland, would they have bent the rules?
Probably not, because who is Maryland, right?
If this was Rutgers, would they have bent the rules?
Come on. You know the answer to that.
If this was Iowa or Northwestern or Minnesota or Illinois or Nebraska or Purdue, would they bend the rules?
I would say all of those schools except for Illinois and except for Maryland, because those other names do have some type of weight behind them. If you were to say to the average college football fan, what about Nebraska? What about Iowa? They're like, oh yeah, they're good, right?
They're not bending the rules to put Minnesota in. They're not bending the rules to put Wisconsin even in. They're not bending the rules to put anybody in other than Michigan, Michigan State, Penn State, and Ohio State in. Those are the only ones that they would bend the rules for, and Ohio State is the only one that had a chance to bring them any money. So that's what they're doing. So save me the they didn't cancel versus this team or they didn't cancel versus that team. There is a rule in place that says if you do not play 6 games, you do not get to go to the title game. Another team played 6 games. They went 6-1. They played 7 games even. The Wildcats played 6 games, went 5-1. Both of those teams should be playing in the Big Ten Championship. It should be Northwestern versus Indiana. Ohio State went and cried about it. And the Big Ten said, you know what? You're right. Let's get you in there. Let's get some money.
Well, you know what? If the Big Ten really wanted to, prove their point per se, Indiana was supposed to have a game this week. It got canceled. The Ohio State game got canceled as well. So why didn't the Big Ten make that game happen? I know why. Because they were scared that that Ohio State was going to lose to Indiana. Because you are absolutely right, Brandon. They want Ohio State to represent them in the college football playoff. However, to answer the question completely, if Northwestern beats Ohio State and Ohio State is 5-1, I still think they make a bowl game. Do they make it to the playoffs? No, they do not make it to the playoffs simply because there's other teams out there that would deserve it more, right? You have A&M, you have Florida, you have Clemson, Notre Dame, heck, Coastal Carolina, Cincinnati, all might have an opportunity to jump over them. But I do think Ohio State makes it to a bowl game. They might play they might play in the Cotton Bowl. They might play in the AutoZone Liberty Bowl or what. I think the NCAA lets them in. I think they do.
You know what? Maybe they might. Look. Here's my plea, and I've got it on good authority, and I can't reveal my sources, that Pat Fitzgerald is an avid listener of the Man Hour. Pat Fitzgerald, I know you're listening right now, okay? I need you to do me 2 things. I need you, 1, get your team ready and beat Ohio State. 2, leave Northwestern and come to the Chicago Bears next year, please, because we really need a coach.
Brandon, let's get to the 2-minute warning, man.
That'll bring us to the 2-minute warning.
And tonight on the 2-minute warning, I'm going to propose a question to Brandon Combs here. We have seen no fans at college football games. We've seen no fans at basketball games. But this is strictly a question for college athletes, college sports in general. For having no fans, who do you think it affects more? Is it the college football games or the college football basketball games? Your answer.
I think it's the college football games. Because college football, you're always used to playing in front of a crowd. Always. Basketball, I mean, these guys, they go and play at the Y, they go and play at the rec center, they go and play at the local, blacktop, wherever they can go and get a game in. So they're used to playing basketball without any spectators. Football, you never really have football without spectators unless you're joining in on your community Thanksgiving game at the park or something. But I really think that it's definitely the college football over the college basketball. I don't think it has much of an effect on the basketball guys.
Yeah, and I have to agree with you. Because when you look at games like Alabama versus LSU, Alabama would have not walked into Death Valley at night and waxed LSU like they did this year if fans were in that game. I mean,
Texas.
Yeah, I mean, fans change outcomes of games. Like a good home field advantage, LSU, Alabama, Kansas State, Florida, right? Those fans alone give you at least 10 points in a game. So
sorry, I know that K-State Texas one was a low blow because that one cost you a little bit there.
Yeah, it crossed me my facial hair, but I'm still a firm believer. If Manhattan, Kansas was packed, Texas wouldn't scored that many points. It would have been a different outcome. I guarantee it. So, but nonetheless, guys, that is the Man Hour. Head over to MikeandMikeManHour.com. Pick yourself a t-shirt up or a hoodie. It'd be highly, highly appreciated. You can check us out every Monday through Thursday at YouTube.com/Man Hour. That's 9 p.m. East Coast time. Or you can find us on iTunes and Spotify and iHeartRadio as well. Combs, send us out, man.
Man Hour Nation. Big X listeners, we love you all.